Welcome to episode 21 of Secret City Geek Lab, your resource for anything geek. We'll talk movies, TV, comic books, video games, and anything you want. I'm your host, Alan Ng, and you'll hear from me and the members of the improv comedy group Secret City Comic Society. This week we are joined by Joey Shope and Will Acker. Today's show is brought to you by Secret City Comic Society, the best in all ages improv comedy in downtown Fullerton. Visit Secret City Comic Society and the Geek Lab at secretcitycomedy.com. Coming up this week, a movie review of Pacific Rim, then a video game review of Animal Crossing, and then a preview of the upcoming film Two Guns with Mark Wahlberg and Denzel Washington. But up first, Pacific Rim. When legions of monstrous creatures known as kaiju started rising from the sea, a war began that would take millions of lives and consume humanity's resources for years on end. To combat the giant kaiju, a special type of weapon was devised, massive robots called Jaegers, which are controlled simultaneously by two pilots whose mind are locked in with the neural bridge. But even the Jaegers are proving nearly defenseless in the face of relentless kaiju. On the verge of defeat, the forces defending mankind have no choice but to turn to two unlikely heroes, a washed-up former pilot, played by Charlie Hunnam, and an untested trainee, Rinko Kikuchi, who are teamed to drive a legendary but seemingly obsolete Jaeger from the past. Together, they must stand as mankind's last hope against this mounting apocalypse. With the review of Pacific Rim is our own Will Acker. I'm here with Will Acker. We're going to talk about the movie Pacific Rim. Will, what was the basic plot of Pacific Rim?
Giant monsters from another dimension come to destroy the world, so we decide to make these giant mech soldiers, which are piloted by two separate people, to basically fight them. And so it's basically a 2-hour-long movie of us fighting giant dinosaur robots.
It's robots versus monsters.
Basically, yes.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds really awesome. How was the movie?
Well, with that being said, I felt like the CGI in it was great. I felt like the action scenes were really good. I really enjoyed like a lot of the fight parts and like the science behind everything and what was going on. Besides that, not a lot else.
Okay, so it's basically a lot of action, not a lot of substance and story.
Exactly. There's a lot of really cool fight scenes between the mech soldiers and the giant monsters, but I felt like with the plot line and the story and then everything that else went on, they kind of took little pieces of things that they thought were cool and slammed them all together. Okay. So you have this makeshift romance, and you have this whole concept of they're called kaijus, which means something in Japanese. I don't remember. But it means, like, monster in Japanese. Uh-huh. So, and you have, like, these people who go out and, like take apart all the monsters, and they kind of, like, sell their stuff off, and they had that little moment. Uh-huh. And they had just, like, little things all over the place that were, like, kind of showing you this universe, but they didn't really develop on anything, and it all just kind of landed flat.
All right, so basically it is just a giant monsters versus robot movie with little bits of story, so to speak, to move things along.
Oh, definitely.
And so, did that make it a bad movie? Did that make it a boring movie?
You know, in no sense of the word was it a boring movie. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I really like I said, the action scenes were great. They knew what they were doing, and they just basically took 2 hours to show you crazy fight scenes, and that was really cool. And but besides that, if you're looking for a massive storyline or anything, you're not going to get that. And that was the one reason that I was kind of disappointed with this movie. I was looking for a little more depth to it.
Okay, so from a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate Pacific Rim?
I'm getting a lot of flack for this, but it's going to be a solid 6 on that.
Solid 6. Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot, Will. You listen to KTST-FM. I'm Alan Ng, and this is Secret City Geek Lab. You just heard our review of Pacific Rim, and now you're going to hear another review of the game Animal Crossing for the Nintendo DS. Caught Joey playing this game in our improv group's theater the other day. He was pretty into the game, pretty animated, kind of yelling and screaming and cussing. But it's a fun game for kids. This is Joey Shope with his review of Animal Crossing for the Nintendo DS. I'm with Joey Shope, and we're going to talk about Animal Crossing New Leaf out on Nintendo 3DS. What is basically the game? What's the general synopsis and story of the game?
Much like the previous games, you are this character who interacts within this village. The twist on this one is, now you're the mayor of this village. So you go around fishing, catching bugs, chopping down trees, all this stuff to make your town better. You donate stuff to the museum, gets a little bit fancier, you buy some stuff, make your town gets a little bit bigger. Town has more stores open up, It's a really, really interesting game.
Mm-hmm. So it's one of these world-building games.
It's a world-building game, but it's very themed. Like, it's a very specific kind of look to it, where you probably couldn't really compare it to other games that are similar. Like, people compare this game to Harvest Moon a lot, but I feel like they're two very separate games.
And it's a single-player game?
It is a single-player game, but you can go to other people's worlds, and a cool little feature there is each world has their own individual fruit that they have. For example, mine has cherry. You can go to your buddy's place who's got apples, and that's worth a lot in your village. Also, you go to other places, you can catch bugs there, you can catch fish there, donate to that museum. There's a lot of stuff that's a lot of fun to do, and the multiplayer is really great. You can have just a bunch of people. Whereas I remember in the original Nintendo DS, there can only be one other person. Whereas this one, because of the capabilities of 3DS, you can have like 4 or 5 people on it.
Okay, and have you played that way or?
Not yet. I'm really just trying to focusing on the single. I only got it a couple days ago, so I've really been focusing on that.
All right, let's compare this Animal Crossing to the originals.
Well, some people I know are going to say, well, this game is very similar to even the very first one on GameCube. Which I don't think is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing because, they're creating this idea of what Animal Crossing is. They're adding some new cool features to it. And they're making it, such as being the mayor. There's more fish you can get. There's more stuff you can collect. There's, you now build your house in a different way. You now get neighbors in a new way. But it's not like they're completely changing the overall theme of the story, and they're not changing the entire concept of it. Like the new Animal Crossing, of course, I know it's not going to be a 3D shooter. I know it's just going to be another Animal Crossing, but slightly better looking, slightly faster, and better.
So what makes this such a big craze? Why are people so attracted to Animal Crossing?
I always wanted that too because I think it's just a great thing to do over months, really, because, what it's been known for is the fact that it changes with the seasons. It's based in real time. If you set it to 6 o'clock and it's 6 o'clock, then it's going to be 6 o'clock in the game, and it's going to be 6 o'clock in real life. I think it just, this is kind of like, I guess, an escape thing. Yeah. But, it's into a fun, silly little world where, you get to collect apples and carps and sell them to buy fancier things.
Okay. What are some things you don't like about the game?
I would like for them to take a little bit more risk in what they could have done. The mayor idea is really, a good idea, but as far as I can tell, I know you can do certain things, like you can open up businesses, you can make bridges. Besides that, there's not like really you change the landscape of it or anything like that. I feel like they could have taken more risk. Every single time they make a new Animal Crossing, there's always something new that I like about it, but, it's usually just one thing or one or two things. Whereas I feel like if they took a chance, took a risk, they could have they might have an entire new engine, but as long as it's different without being too completely different, I think they could have a really good game there. They just didn't take enough risks, in my opinion.
All right, so from scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate Animal Crossing?
I give it an 8.
8. All right, very good. Thanks, Joey. This is KTST-FM, and you're listening to the Geek Lab. Moving right along, we have a movie preview coming out. Movie hasn't come out yet, but this is Two Guns, and it's based on a graphic novel. Two Guns features Academy Award winner Denzel Washington and Mark Wahlberg leading an all-star cast, an explosive action film that rocks two operatives from competing bureaus who are forced to run together. But there is a big problem with their unique alliance. Neither knows that the other is an undercover federal agent. For the past 12 months, DEA agent Bobby Trench, played by Denzel Washington, and a U.S. naval officer, Marcus Stigman, played by Mark Wahlberg, have been reluctantly attached to the hip, working undercover as members of a narcotics syndicate. Each man distrusts his partner as much as the criminals they have both been tasked to take down. When their attempt to infiltrate a Mexican drug cartel and recover millions goes haywire, Trench and Stegman are suddenly disavowed by their superiors. Now that everyone wants them in jail or in the ground, the only person they can count on is each other. Unfortunately for their pursuers, when the good guys spend years pretending to be bad, they pick up a few tricks along the way. Two Guns is based on a graphic novel from Boom Comics, or Boom Studios now, and here's a discussion of Two Guns that took place at WonderCon this past year.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So, Steven says in the trailer. So I'm going to cue the trailer up with this. I've known Stephen Grant for 20 years, going back to a time when I worked at Malibu Comics. Stephen did a series there with the legendary Gil Kane called Edge. We were buddies, been kept up with each other at shows through the years. And I was launching a company, and I needed talented creators, and I always believed that people who had stuck in the business for a long time and proven career longevity had great creativity, and I felt that those voices were important. And we referenced and talked about Keith Giffen as another example of a guy that's in the space, and that really informs our perspective. I think that a lot of times in comics we get swept up in flavor of the month. The X-Men's hot, so what's the new X-Men? But I think that at the same time we need to pay attention to the creators that have proven themselves through the years.
Yeah. And by the way, if you were at the convention yesterday, you may not have seen this. This just went live yesterday. So outside of, if you were on the internet yesterday with all those millions of people, you're the first to see this.
Saying never rob a bank across from a diner that has the best donuts in 3 counties.
That's not the same. No, it's not. I get what you're saying, maybe, but it's not the same.
It is the same. It's the same now. Go! Everybody sit down on the floor. Fire and roll!
Let's go, come on! How much you figure?
$40 million.
$40 million?
But I got bad news for you.
What is that? Is that a badge in your hand?
DEA.
Petty Officer Michael Stigman. You know Bobby Beans was DEA?
Man, your boy Stig's a piece of work.
Did you know he was special forces? You've been out of this land way too long.
Whoa! Did you miss me?
On the count of 3, we'll let each other go. 1, 2, 3.
That ain't making me not be able to trust you.
The bank was a setup. We got to figure out whose money that was.
Well, like we're working together?
No, not like we're working.
Yeah.
No, like we're working in the same vicinity.
Together.
In the same area code.
Together.
Ripped off the CIA.
Where's the money?
It ain't down there, I guarantee you that.
There must be some kind of way out of
You
here.
got 24 hours to bring me the money.
Send the Joker to the thief. Yeah.
So, partner, what's your plan?
I got a plan. I mean, I'm capable of coming up with a plan.
Capable, I'm just saying you haven't told me what is it.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, screw it. What's your plan?
No one expected. You should have seen your face.
Sure you can trust this guy?
Who are they?
Well, next time I said they were my family today, they don't want to kill me.
I understand the feeling. What I ever do to you is I shoot me.
How many times have I properly incentivized you?
More than you know. It's rain.
You're my people and there's a code. You fight for the guy that's fighting next to you.
Give me the keys.
You want it? Come get him. Oh, man! It's uncalled for.
Give me the keys.
Saw that move coming?
That's correct. Give me the keys.
So we got the first movie made out of a Boom graphic novel there.
Yeah, and the question that's been burning in my head since yesterday afternoon is, how's it feel to see that trailer?
It makes me want to see the movie. Like now.
And you wrote the thing.
So go back a slide because I want to make sure that you see that in the bottom right corner that Stephen got a chance to see Making It Rain up close.
Yeah.
So Stephen and I embarked on this journey 6 years ago. And I got to ask the question that you got to ask. Yeah, we don't have a hell of a lot of time.
Right.
So how'd you come up with 2 guns?
Well, at some point I got the idea of doing something about undercover cops, which I find just this kind of completely absurd concept. Because if you're an undercover cop, the idea is you're a bad guy, you're a good guy, bad guy, to get other bad guys. So you're going into a milieu where you don't really, I thought, what if you end up with like an entire gang of bad guys who are actually undercover cops who are trying to bust each other? And that was a thing I played around with for a long time. It wasn't really, it was a little cumbersome to work with, and it eventually whittled its way down to Two Guns, which was a story that I just liked. Now at the time it was impossible to sell crime stories, but I just wanted to write it so much that I wrote the thing, and I would basically hand it out as party favors to people that I knew, which is how Ross ended up with it. Just for their amusement. And I don't generally write things without knowing I can sell them first, but this one I just sat down and wrote.
I do remember exactly what I said to you when I first read it. I called you up and I said, "You bastard, this is brilliant."
Yeah, and he said, "I'm going to make a movie out of this." And I said, "Yeah, okay, fine." And here we are.
So the other thing is, what is it like conceptualizing something and then seeing somebody make a movie out of it? You know, going from the stage of this is something that you've thought of that's a dream, then it gets turned into a comic book, and now it gets cast, it gets turned into a movie.
Well, it's weird.
Yeah.
There's this level of dislocation through the whole thing. People. Now I'm really excited about the thing, and I don't want people to think I'm not. But there's this. You just kind of start feeling dislocated by it after a while, because it starts becoming something that sort of was out there without you.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of this whole new thing to me now, which is great.
So I want you to tell the story. We took you out to the set.
Right.
We went out to Pappy Greco's ranch, which after the movie will make sense to you. And I remember everybody walked up to Stephen, the cast, the crew.
Said, "So what do you think? What do you think of this set?" And I looked at it and I said, "It's exactly what I saw in my head when I was writing it." And it was really strange.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've had other experiences like in the first Punisher movie, the second Punisher movie that Marvel made, the one with Tom Jane, there's lines of dialogue that I wrote in the comics that turn up in that movie, and it's very weird to suddenly hear these things pop up. And this is like an entire movie of lines that I don't know why. And it's just very strange to have them repeated back to you without, in just a completely different context. And it's just, just weird. I gotta say, the whole experience is just weird, but a good weird.
Yeah, lots of fun. All right, you've already seen the trailer.
So,
You listen to KTSTFM. I'm Alan Ng, and this is Secret City Geek Lab. That was Two Guns, a little preview talking to the creator of the comic book and one of the producers who actually runs Boom Studios. This week is Comic-Con week, and so a couple of quick announcements or news items coming from Comic-Con. Warner Brothers is set to produce a sequel to Superman, and that sequel is going to also include Batman in it. It's scheduled to come out in the summer of 2015. The director will again be Zack Snyder, who directed Man of Steel, and will also involve the writer David Goyer. Production is set to begin in 2014. Also, big news at Comic-Con. They just had the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. panel, and they brought a clip. But not only did they bring a clip, they played the entire pilot, and that pilot went over really well amongst the crowd. The pilot is a hybrid of X-Files meets Heroes. It's focused on a super agent team trying to pin down a black-hooded superhero who saves a victim from a fire on the onset. They eventually learn that he is a combustible super soldier, much like the henchman in the latest Iron Man 3 movie. The big detail revealed quickly at the top of the show is that their leader, Clark Gregg, who played Agent Coulson, survived the death in Avengers. All right, well, that's a couple of news. Next week, we're going to have a lot more about Comic-Con. We had Dimitri and Will. They both ran the Walking Dead escape, and I'm hoping to get some interviews from them about that. But with that, this is episode 21 of Secret City Geek Lab. It's brought to you by SecretCityComedy.com. Fullerton's best all-ages improv comedy. So come back next week for more news and updates in the world of geekdom and nerdity, or visit us online for daily news at secretcitycomedy.com/thegeeklab. Want to thank Will and Joey for their reviews, and until then, have a geek week.